Hey guys, welcome to yet another video. Today we have kind of some exciting stuff, for you. Um, in the agenda in the last topic, I kind of went ahead and threw one of these kind of deployment use case I've seen where you will be expected to have in big massive networks you're supposed to have VLAN support. And interestingly enough, the latest version of CoovaChilli, as of the time of this recording, 1.3.0, it kind of supports the ability to have support VLAN, so basically forward untagged frames back and forth. But the prerequisites to this, or what you will need to have in place if you want to kind of follow this video, is to actually have a layer 3 or VLAN capable switch. I'm talking on the Cisco switches, of course, the Catalyst switches, or the HP Procov, or any of the switches that can support VLANs and kind of you know 802.1q tunneling or trunking. All right, so of course, since I am trying to virtualize almost everything here just to show you guys in this course, I went ahead and created this sample scenario here in GNS3. What I have is I have the RadiusDesk box running. This is basically connected to an instance of a VirtualBox instance of RadiusDesk. This is our RadiusDesk that we were using yesterday. We kind of have this switch. Now the reason why I'm using this switch in GNS3 is because it allows you to kind of configure VLANs in basic support. So if you click on switches, of course you can see here I can change the type from access to kind of the 1Q and all that. So of course we're going to get back to this, and what I have here is two Windows XP client machines, and each one is connected to a different VLAN. So hopefully this will kind of pass the idea as to how CoovaChilli is going to help us pass along the 802.1q tunnel, and of course it's going to kind of treat every single VLAN as a separate network. All right, so what I have is I already have the RadiusDesk machine running. You can see in green, and I've already SSH to the machine, and of course this is the same machine we used on our RadiusDesk install. I can see our RadiusDesk is running. All right, so yeah, we need to go ahead and set it up, and a couple of things I did. If you notice, if I do an ifconfig here, you can see that I'm not running the tunnel interface, and this is because the CoovaChilli instance that we installed yesterday is off. And of course this is part of the prerequisites. We need to set it up in a different way. All right, so but one of the things you will have to do is to make sure you have the vconfig the vconfig package. Make sure you have this. If you don't, you can just simply go ahead and kind of do a yum install vconfig. Just go ahead and install the the configuration manager for VLANs. And before you get started, of course you need to load the VLAN module into the module list. So this would mean kind of doing a mod probe. All right, so of the 802.1q driver. So make sure you do this, because when you do an ls mod and you grep the 802.1q, you should be able to see it already kind of running. So make sure you have this already. If not, make sure you run this command mod probe.802.1q. all right, so once we have that, we've kind of told the kernel, hey man, we need you to run the 802.1q module here. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to identify the interface that will act as our LAN interface. So for me here, it will be the that's ETH2 that we have here running. So let's go ahead and set that up. All right, so the way we use vconfig, if you just run it without any option here, you can see it gives you kind of a list of what to use here, of course. So you can see we can use the vconfig add, and then we need to specify the interface name here and then the VLAN ID. All right, so this is pretty much simple. So since we've identified that the interface we want to use is the ETH0, this will be the parent interface. If you're already on kind of use VLANs, and of course I expect you to already have an idea of what VLANs are, and of course that's why you should be setting up this scenario I'm trying to walk you through. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create the first VLANs. I'm going to give it a VLAN tag of 10, of course. So VLAN ETH2, and of course I'm just going to call this 10. We're omitting the add command. All right, So once you do that and you get this message, then you successfully added the VLAN with VLAN ID 10 to the interface ETH2. All right, so let's go ahead and add the second one here. Just going to call this 20. And eventually what this has kind of created is, if you do an if config, you can see there's basically no difference. Yes, so this is kind of expected. So we need to kind of run the if up eth2.10. We need to make sure this runs, or just make sure this runs on your VLANs. If I bring my command here, I think I did if up. Okay, so let me just kind of quickly check the sysconfig directory network scripts ifcfg here, and yeah, so we have the two networks that we created. So one of the things I would like to do is to kind of change directory into the into our scripts directory here. We need to copy some files. So this is just a way of making sure you have the same files. So I'm just going to copy the cfg for eth2, and of course I'm just going to copy this to eth 2.10. okay, all right, so once we have that, we can go ahead and kind of edit the 2.10, and we need to make sure that the device name points to the correct one. And here of course we can go ahead and set the parent interface address that we need to send. But since we're going to set up this in CentOS, of course we're going to set this up in CoovaChilli, then this really doesn't matter. But for now, let's just go ahead and kind of get the ball rolling. So I'm just going to say, since this is going to be VLAN 10, this should be 10.1. all right, so let's copy ifcfg eth 2.20 10 to ifcfg eth2.20. all right, so we have this, and just make sure we update the necessary device name here. So all right, so we need to make sure this points to the right file, and once we do that, of course we can go ahead and do an if up of eth 2.10. all right, so just make sure we do that for if up eth 2.20. all right, so now I should be able to have our VLAN interfaces up. You can see them with the different IP addresses. all right, so having done that, we've already set up our VLANs, of course, and this will always start on boot if you prefer, because if you do a cat of ifcfg eth2.10, you can see here that we set on boot should be yes. all right, so anytime it restarts, then it will be yes. all right, so having done that, next we need to do is to kind of go into the etc chili directory. Here you can see that we already have a new a new multi.sh file. This is useful because we can use this to create the directory structure that we need, and kind of to get that rolling. We already have a config running, so we need to make sure that we come to this file and edit this as well. So I'm going to run the new multi.sh. so new multi.sh. So if I run this, you can see that it says hey, create a VLAN interface with vconfig add interface VLAN ID before we actually run the interface. So all right, let's go ahead and add that. all right, and do that. So this is how you use a script. And of course you can see now we have two directories here, one for eth2.10 and one for eth2.20. so make sure this these two interface corresponds to your your interface names, right? So of course this is powered by VLAN, so we should be able to get that rolling. And once we have that set up, if you go into eth2.1 and do an ls or ls-l, you can see here that it has automatically created the config file. If you do a cat of chili.conf, of course you can see it went ahead and included the necessary main.conf, hs.conf, and all that. So of course we will make sure we have those files ready, hs.conf, local.conf, or of course it can go ahead and create that by itself. Alright, so for now let's just concentrate on working on the config file itself. And if you edit the config file, then you can see that it made a copy of our previous config files. And of course here we can go ahead and remove some redundant information. Of course here we don't need the WAN interface. Basically we just need the LAN interface, right? So we need the LAN if, and the LAN if needs to be match the same interface, so 2.10, and we need to update this with the network information that we have. So since we already have the previous one set to UAM port 3910, we're going to go ahead and leave this and make sure we update this and this. Alright, so here of course we can make sure that we have a unique name. So here we're just going to say VLAN 10 NAS, and of course you can see we can say VLAN 10 SSID, of course, just to make it unique. Yep, so we can see that each one is pointed. Here you can of course customize the UM format, and you can change the kind of secret if you like, if you want. And of course we kind of allow the same ports to run. One thing we need to take out as well here, take off, is the HS port that we just created here. So we need to just make sure it's running on one of the ports, and that of course we can send authentication accounting information across. All right, so this of course we can just go ahead and comment this. We're going to leave it on the main file. This is all fine, so make sure we have this running on each of the ports. All right, so HS NAS IP, of course we could make it act as the local one, or we can just make sure that it points to the same IP here. Alright, so here let's just kind of make a copy of this. So edit this 168.1. Alright, so this is just trying to make sure that we use as much local information as possible. So here of course we're just going to go ahead and edit this, so this will be the same for everything that we have, but of course we want to modify the UM secret for the different for the different networks. Then we can go ahead and do that, and just to make sure we have everything intact. So yes, LAN if. Alright, so we need to go ahead and go into ETH220 and kind of modify the config file to match. So like I said, here we need to make sure that the LAN interface, we've changed it to 2.20. This needs to change to 2.0.2.0, and of course this needs to change because remember we already have one running on this port, so we need to make sure it spawns on its own unique port here. Alright, so we already have static IPs. Make sure we change this. Okay, just remembered. Alright, so we need to change this to kind of VLAN 20. VLAN 20 here. Of course, mentioned we need to make this global, so they'll both share, so there's no point making it redundant. And of course here we need to kind of do the same thing we did and update the IP address. Alright, so 20.168.192, and of course we need to kind of experimentally uncomment this, so we don't really need this to run here. Alright, so let's make sure everything is working. Let's go into ETH10. Let's update the static definition. Of course we're not using static definitions in this video, so but just put it in there just to make sure it's complete. And of course we need to go ahead and edit the master file. So here you can see we don't need the one interface here, the LAN interface. This will be run by the different interfaces, and we don't need any of this. right here. All right, so we don't need any of this. Or since we already have this running, of course we can go ahead and edit this, but we don't need all these options here, of course. So we can make all this, you know, kind of generic and public. So of course we can make mark auth you know, kind of public. So yeah, of course we can make all this public, but you know, just comment it since we already have most of this, you know, configuration, you know, loaded. Or you know, just for brevity's sake, I'm just going to make, you know, most of this global. All right, so that way they get to share, you know, the they get to share the same port, and we need to kind of comment this up as well. All right, so hopefully we've commented quite a lot of that, and you know, the one interface needs to be one. All right, so just being careful here, you know, since we're generalizing most of this, so we don't need this. And of course we can go ahead and make this, so anything will be common to the two of them. Of course we don't need to duplicate that. So all right, so all right, so we can just go ahead and comment you know, most of this. Let's just complete and make sure that we kind of comment out, you know, most of this, and we need to comment this out. Right, all right, so just for brevity's sake, we're just sharing most of this. All right, so it's something you can always go back and check and make sure that you have it running properly, otherwise, you know, Chili would not start. All right, so once we have that, we can go ahead and give, you know, Chili a kick. So make sure we have Chili starting, and here you can see that Chili found a configuration in the etc 2.10 and of course etc, you know, 2.0. If we do an if config here, you can see we have two tunnels here, right? So tunnel 0 and tunnel 1, and you can see the different networks running, 20, and then of course we have 10. All right, so hopefully this will override, you know, the IP address set on these interfaces. All right. All right, so once that's done, of course, we can go ahead and, you know, kind of make sure that because now what we're trying to do here is by default the frames will go untagged, but because we're running the VLAN you know, kind of interface on the, you know, CentOS kernel module, lsmod the 8221Q, since it's already running, of course they need to pass the traffic untagged to our switch. So of course we can kind of come to our switch here, we can configure that, and you can see that in you know, on a switch we can, you know, we can kind of select port 1, since port 1 is the one that is connected to, you know, the switch. If you're wondering how I knew that, if I hover over the switch here, you can see that you know, port 1 is in access mode with native VLAN 1. This is basically no VLANs, and is connected to virtualized device RD Ethernet. So since that's the case, I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, kind of configure the switch here, and you know, port 1 needs to change from access to, you know, a trunk port. Right, so we need to add that just to update it. Port 2 needs to be, you know, an access port, but the VLAN tag needs to change, so port 2 needs to change to 10, just to kind of distribute um, the VLAN tag. All right, so VLAN 3, of course, port 3 needs to be accessed and needs to be VLAN 3. All right, so we apply this, and hopefully it will be able to understand VLAN tags. All right, so since we have this, what we can do, of course, before continuing any of the the process, is to start our client. So I'm just going to start the XP machines here. Just minimize this. Okay, so hopefully they wouldn't take too much time to come up. So you can see two machines kind of coming up. All right, so let's see what's happening. One of it's crashing. All right, so it's still coming up. All right, so you can see we have all green here, but there's a problem. I think we lost RD, so RadiusDesk. So let me just go ahead and kind of start that again. Okay, guys, so I need to kind of I did a quick troubleshoot of my RadiusDesk box, and I kind of spotted some kind of errors that we did while setting up the virtual VLANs. And one of the things I want to make sure you do is when you go back to the sysconfig network script, the ETH2.10, yeah, so we kind of omitted this. So you want to make sure that you have the VLAN directive here. This is part of a VLAN. Always make sure you have this for those that will participating in VLANs, and we did the same thing for this interface as well. All right, so just something to point out there. And now if you do an ifconfig, you should be able to see all the interface up, and I believe we kind of shut down Chili, and we need to go ahead and kind of start Chili. So Chili start. All right, so eventually we should have the two tunnels as we did earlier, and you should be able to go back to our scenario and see that we're kind of connecting the two machines. And hopefully if the can go ahead and try to kind of repair the network. So hopefully if everything works correctly, here you can see I have an IP address, and funny enough, you can see the Windows XPB machine running here. You can see the XPB running. You can see this is on the VLAN 2.0. If you go to our switch here, you can see this is connected to VLAN 2.0. Let me just kind of quickly go ahead and configure this, and you can see that VLAN 20 is on port 3, and sure enough, this is connected on switch 1 port 3, and you can see we have the IP address issued to the machine here, 192.168.20.20. All right, so hopefully this is correct, and this should go ahead and resolve as well. So click here, click repair, and here you can see that the IP address information has been successfully configured, and here you can see that we have the 10.20 interface. All right, so we have VLAN support working. We have our machines connected to CoovaChilli instance that supplies the two networks, and as we can go as far as actually trying to invoke the network. So 192.168, so instead of 10 here, of course we can just go ahead and click this, and we can see that we are hitting the CoovaChilli interface, and hopefully we shouldn't get a redirect just like we did before. We need to go ahead and add this option in the RadiusDesk interface. But just show that we're kind of hitting the right connection here. You can see as I try to browse, you can see that it's actually redirecting me. And of course, if I go to the B machine and I try to do the same thing, all All right, so hopefully this is redirecting me. You can see here this is 20, and of course this is 10. Of course we're connecting to similar RadiusDesk interface. All right, so here we need to go back to RadiusDesk, and of course RadiusDesk is working, so I'm going to go ahead and log in as root and admin, and we need to make some changes. All right, so the first thing we need to do here is on the dynamic login pages option, you can see that we have the same dynamic login page. All right, so but we need to make sure that we have the test the keys are working as appropriate. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and where we have the dynamic keys, we want to make sure that the SSID here is kind of set to a different ID, right? So this is just for this login interface. So let's say we want to create this login interface, and we want to say this is VLAN 10 SSID. All right, so I believe this is what we called it. Click save, and here we can as well just edit this and say this is VLAN 10 NAS. All right, so of course we can go ahead and edit as much as we can, or we can kind of just pick one of these, and I believe we should have a way to preview this, but no. All right, so for now, since we're sharing it, we're going to do multiple pages. We can go ahead and add a new page here. So let's just go ahead and just do that. The name should be let's call this VLAN 20 login page. All right, so we can make this available to subnavs. We can add contact details like phone numbers. All right, so I'm just going to copy this. This is not required, but I can just go ahead and paste all this. You can say info at testrealm.com, and of course we have a URL, testrealm.com. Of course, address is somewhere. This is trivial. Number 1 some street. All right, so town, some town. All right, so let's just say VLAN 20 city and country. Let's just stick with Nigeria. Right, so click OK, and we have VLAN 20 login page. And if we edit this, of course we can go to dynamic pages here, and we can add the dynamic keys. So the value here in this case would be SSID, and we want this to be VLAN 20 SSID. And of course we can add one more, and this we can call NAS ID, and this should be VLAN 20 NAS. Yes, that's what we'll call it. Increase the priority. All right, so here we're just creating 2 different pages here. All right, of course you can see that the logo means RadiusDesk. The photos, we don't have photos just to showcase, but we can kind of just go ahead and add some images here. You can see we can say this title is sample image, and description some sample VLAN 20 image. All right, so of course you can see I'm creating some customizations here, and I can click on this to navigate to my machine. Let me just find a nice picture. Hopefully this is copyrighted. This is free. I can just this whale here. All right, so you can see it's creating some fake path. All right, so I'm going to click save, and once this edits, you can see some sample VLAN 20 page, and I can go to on pages and can add this. And I can just say, welcome to VLAN 20, wireless hotspot, right? So here we can just do a couple of stuff. You can say, let me just add some random garbage here as help, something that we can use. Just kind of give it some formatting. Totally up to you, something you can spend some time doing, but we just want to do it for the sake of this demo. All right, so we have this done. You can see we have our dynamic keys set up. Detail page, you can see the logo RadiusDesk. Of course, you can change it, and we have an image. All right, so we have 2 different pages here, each responding to two different networks, and kind of serving us as expected. So let's make sure that the login pages are working. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this, and you can see here on the 10.1 I have the the login page. You can see if I click on about, you see I have the monthly test login page. The help gives me the same help. All right, so let's go ahead and try that on XPB, and voila. All right, so I have a different page, totally different page. I have my NASA page here. If I click on about, here you can see VLAN 20 login page, and this is on VLAN 20. So you can see I have a totally different login page, and of course I can customize this to everything, anything I want. I can click on help. You can see the sample test we created, and hopefully you understand how this works right now. Pretty impressive and cool. Thanks to Dirk for this innovative approach. This is something I really love already. And so let's make sure our users can log in as well. So for us to do that, we need to also go back and make some changes to our NAS devices. Of course, initially we just have just a couple. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the sample NAS user, and let's go make some NAS devices, right? So I'm going to click next, and of course I'm going to click fixed IP address, and the IP address of the NAS I'm just going to start with of course VLAN, of course start with VLAN 1. Here I can just say VLAN 1, VLAN 10 NAS, and of course the secret is secret, right? So if you remember, we're sharing the same secret. Click next, and of course this is available to all the realms, of course sub realms, right? So let's go ahead and make sure this is available to all the realms, and you can click next, and here you can see we have this new NAS, and let's go ahead and add one more. So I'm doing this in pairs. Hopefully there is you don't have to create all this, you can just stick with the localhost version, but I just want to tell you show you how we can treat the same box as different clients and it still work. All right, so 20 NAS, and of course we can click secret, make sure this is available to sub realms, and kind of hopefully if I click on edit here right now and I click on optional info, you can see that we have pretty much everything here. We need this to be CoovaChilli. If you like, we can put a NAS identifier. We don't have the core port or the change of authorization port active. Something I need to research on. I mean, of course, one of the things you can try is to make sure that each of the configuration files for Chili, you kind of add a different port, but I think that is somehow redundant and there should be a better way to do that. But for now we can just kind of stick to this one that we have. Of course, you can make one of the VLANs support the change of authorization kickout option, but for this course I believe that is something we can do without. Of course, we can change the monitor method, can make sure that the system checks for pings, can make sure that this NAS we have an IP address attached to it, and we have the automatic cleanup option. This is just to update our NAS. Let's go ahead and update VLAN 2 NAS as well. Optional info, CoovaChilli monitor options. All right, let's make sure we update this as well. So this should be CoovaChilli monitor options. Let's enable the ping check. Of course, in future screencasts we're going to come here and explain more about like using heartbeat to kind of even larger networks for higher availability. So but that will be a more advanced topic, and of course something that you guys want, just indicate, and get some spare time to kind of show you that in a screencast as well. All right, so we have the two our two NAS available, and of course we can always test. If you remember our lovely all right, so if you remember our lovely Radius client. All right, so yeah, we can go ahead and remember our users here. Of course we can test, and our user everything still works, it's successful. And let's just quickly go here and make sure that everything is set up correctly. All right, All right, so let's see if this is going to work. Let's try to connect, and for the username I'm going to type DVD Vault. This is one of the permanent users that we have, and the user is also DVD Vault, the default permanent user, and voila, ladies and gentlemen, we have a login on VLAN 10, and we can switch to VLAN B right now. Try to connect, and let's connect with the other permanent user, Murphy, and login. And voila, we have connections as well. So of course, let's see if this works right now. Earlier I tried to go to the internet and I have internet connection. Great. All right, so here too I tried to go to Google, and of course you can see Google. You can navigate to different pages. You can go to RadiusDesk website, and here we can see a lot. And our users is kind of working just fine. You can see the bytes, the count. In B as well, you can see the count that we have. Of course, we can go around, try to stream videos and all. And of course, let's see if right. So of course, this is something new. Right, so P Squares are one of our local music band group, and they kind of did a video to honor Michael Jackson lately, so I'm sure Michael Jackson's dad will want to say a few words, and it'd be cool. Of course, YouTube with the ads. All right, so let's skip that. All right. So just something just want to test and play around with, and of course you can see our data usage is successful. You can see Jamin Jackson speaks on P Square's tribute to late Michael Jackson, so I'm sure it's gonna start saying some stuff. And right, so see how this works. Right, so all right, so trying to wait on the video to start streaming. Is ready to downloading the files. All right, so but ladies and gentlemen, not to take so much of the time on these videos. Of course, you can see we have dynamic custom pages, with custom pages with VLAN support running on CoovaChilli and multiple instances. So one thing you need to take away from this video, in addition to what we just did, is the fact that you can scale this as much as you can, and of course you can run the the scaled version of the network description I showed earlier, and kind of helps a lot of stuff, right? All right, so kind of interesting, and I'm just gonna go end this video right now, and watch what Jermaine Jackson wants to say. All right, so that's cool, and I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect. All right, so hopefully this has been so informative, and of course if you have more kind of you have more questions or stuff you want to kind of throw in the comments, or just make sure you include that, and I'm gonna make sure most of the links and the tools I use are available, and hopefully come with more screencasts on making sure that you guys kind of understand RadiusDesk from the back to the front. But just to round up the video, please on the RadiusDesk site, if you are a kind of a group and would like to have a customized support, let's say you're an organization, an enterprise, I strongly recommend you kind of contact Derek for the paid version. I mean, of course, I'm just trying to help him kind of reach out to more people. I mean, he has put so much effort and hours on this project, and of course if the best way to compensate him is to kind of outsource some of the the work. If you're an enterprise, then of course I strongly recommend you do that. You can see the services he provides, and of course I believe it's cool. Or you can just go buy his free Radius book if you're interested in RadiusDesk and Radius backend in detail, in more detail. All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, see you in a future screencast, and hopefully you enjoyed this course, and let me know what you feel if we need to make more of these courses in the future. All right, so thanks for watching, and